When you invest in the oppressed, epic opportunities await. Welcome back. Welcome. So, Brian was the first to respond with his closing arguments. Sarah, the clock is ticking. She has to beat the September 2nd postmark by 5 p.m. This is just the tip of the tip. So while Sarah Boone sits in her single cell and gets her ducks in a row, sipping her jumping java, and is she eating delicious delights? Maybe she's drinking water and the 3 meals that the facility offers, as she said in court. Either way, let's get this party started. Petitioner's written closing argument. Petitioner Brian C. Boone, former husband, in parentheses. During the family court hearing, Brian's attorney accidentally said, "You want your husband to pay for your gifts that you can't afford to buy your son because you're incarcerated?" A former ex-husband. So she made that very clear. So there's a little wordplay. Former husband respectfully submits this closing arguments in support of his petition to modify the parenting and support orders, and in opposition to the respondent's request, states as follows. 1. The evidence at trial and applicable law overwhelmingly support granting the relief Mr. Boone seeks for the benefit of the parties, minor child. Since the respondent's former wife, since her incarceration in February 2020, Mr. Boone has single-handedly provided a loving, stable home for the child. Oh, this is going to burn Sarah up. Did our son tell you that he likes your house more than mine? Well, we have the same things. We both have a laptop. We both have a TV. We both have space to play. We have the same thing. Brian, you do know you're under oath. So, in a way, she's supporting Brian's argument in court by saying he has a more loving, stable home. Covering all, and that's in bold writing, financial, emotional, and logistical needs without any contribution from former wife. In contrast, the former wife, now a convicted murderer serving life in prison without parole, has been completely unable to care for or support the child, having had no overnight contact since her arrest in 2020. 3. At trial, the former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone could relocate the child to Gainesville, Florida. Shout out to everybody in Florida. However, she did not agree to Mr. Boone's proposed parenting plan that provided for sole parental responsibility for Mr. Boone, 1 monthly visit with the child and the former wife, and 1 weekly phone call between the former wife and the minor child. I think that was actually too generous of Brian to offer the 1 monthly visit. He should have said maybe, every other holiday. It's going to be a while, Sarah. You'll be there for a while. The former wife has shown no genuine accountability or remorse for the actions that led to her incarceration. The evidence demonstrated that she continues to deflect blame for her predicament rather than take responsibility. This lack of incitement into her own wrongdoing heightens concerns about her judgment and fitness as a parent. Go, Brian. Excuse me, and everyone is forgetting that I have an appeal coming up that will most likely be successful, which I've been fighting for since my stint at Orange County for 5 or more years, because I was fighting for my innocence. 5. A parent who cannot acknowledge such a grave error. Oh, Josh is coming out swinging. A parent who cannot acknowledge such a grave error, a homicide that left her imprisoned for life, is ill-suited to make decisions affecting a child's well-being. Florida's public policy strongly condemns violent criminal behavior. A parent incarcerated for a heinous intentional act cannot simultaneously fulfill the obligations or enjoy the benefits of an active parent. I can see Sarah in her cell right now. She's throwing her delicious delights on the floor. She's lost her appetite. Her blood sugar isn't low anymore. She's ready to fight. 6. In fact, Florida law recognizes that a parent's lengthy incarceration for a serious felony is so contrary to a child's welfare that it can justify termination of parental rights. While Mr. Boone is not presently seeking to terminate the former wife's parental rights, this principle underscores how profoundly the former wife's situation has undermined her role in the child's life. Let me tell you that one more time. While Mr. Boone is not presently seeking to terminate the former wife's parental rights, this principle underscores how profoundly the former wife's situation has undermined her role in the child's life. Absolutely. How can she expect to have the same privileges as an active parent that is there every day, as a nurse, a doctor, a chauffeur, a coach, a captain, a chef, a housekeeper, a therapist? Parents wear so many hats, and she thinks that she can do that over the phone from close confinement? 7. Florida law presumes that shared parental responsibility is ideal, but that presumption yields when shared decision-making would be detrimental to the child. Here, sole parental responsibility in the father is not only warranted, it is essential. Sarah is going to blow her top. It is essentially compelled by the circumstances. Former wife put her boyfriend in a suitcase and potentially threw him down the stairs and beat him with a bat. Oh, sidebar. I got into Sarah's cell phone and we're going to read some of her text messages and notes from her private threads. And you guys, it's a roller coaster. 8. The former wife has been entirely absent from the child's life for over 5 years and will remain so for the remainder of his minority, 3 years. By virtue of her incarceration, and because she's not going to be able to ever have a relationship, that childhood relationship is gone. Night, night, termite. Tell him what you want to be when you grow up. Little man's childhood is cemented. He's going to always remember those nights that she came knocking on the door barefoot in her stinky pink shorts, barefoot, from fleeing in the middle of the night. He's not going to forget the baseball bat that he used to play with outside with George that was used to fatally injure him. He's not going to forget the blue suitcase that I'm pretty sure he saw both of them packing to go on a vacation. I'm pretty sure he saw in the house plenty of times, just in the closet randomly. He's not going to forget standing outside of his school waiting on former wife to pick him up, and she just completely forgot, and his dad had to actually remind her over and over, and she didn't answer her phone, as Mr. J says, because she was busy and she had things to do. Okay, we were on number 8. I'll just start from the beginning. The former wife has been entirely absent from the child's life for over 5 years and will remain so for the remainder of his minority. By virtue of her incarceration until life's end, oh, that's a long time, she is unable to participate in day-to-day parenting or any meaningful decision-making. Have you included me in any major decisions? For example, COVID? Was COVID a major decision? Relocation? What? Yes or no? My question only requires a yes or no. 9. Mr. Boone has already been exercising sole responsibility in practice since 2020 out of necessity. Formalizing sole parental responsibility in the father is necessary to avoid any confusion or conflict in decision making going forward. So that means Sarah can't get on the phone and say, "Your dad needs to buy you whatever you want. Tell him I said so." Or tell him to give me the money and I can buy it for you as a gift. Have I bought my son any gifts? You had a third party buy him a gift, but not with your own money. 10. Awarding Mr. Boone sole parental responsibility will serve the child's best interest. The child is thriving under Mr. Boone's sole care, which provides stability, consistency, and safety, all of which would be jeopardized by giving the incarcerated former wife any decision-making authority. I totally agree with number 10. She would intentionally, with malicious content, try to just undermine Brian's decisions. 11. I almost said 11 in Sarah's voice. 11. 11. It is simply not feasible for Mr. Boone to consult with a prisoner serving life without parole on major decisions about the child's education, medical care, or general welfare, especially when the imprisoned parent will have no financial stake or personal time invested in the decision itself. Hoo-wee. How much are the phone calls? 13 cents a minute. And you agreed to that, right? Yeah, I had no choice. 12. More importantly, it is not in the child's best interest to do so. The former wife's inability to accept responsibility for her crime raises serious concern about her judgment. The trial evidence showed that rather than expressing remorse or cooperating in the child's welfare, she has made unfounded, inflammatory accusations against Mr. Boone. For example, accusing him of parental alienation simply because he has protected the child from exposure to trauma. Such behavior reflects a mindset that is not conducive to healthy co-parenting or prioritizing the child's needs. 13. Consistent with the above, Mr. Boone's proposed parenting plan should be approved as it is tailored to the child's best interest. I like that. Under these unique circumstances, Mr. Boone's plan is generous yet prudent. It permits the former wife to maintain a relationship with the child through supervised monthly visitation at her correctional facility, her new townhome, and weekly telephone calls. This plan ensures that the child can have some contact with his mother, preserving their bond to the degree possible without compromising the child's safety or welfare. This is a prison after all, Sarah. A yard or dorm that has lifers. 14. The former wife's durational alimony award should be terminated retroactive to the date that Mr. Boone filed his petition to modify in April of 2022 due to the substantial change in circumstances and the elimination of her need for support. Okay, so it looks like Brian is agreeing that he's on the hook up until April of 2022. It's February, March, April. Oh, so Brian only feels that he should be on the hook for 3 months. Okay. 15. Here, the former wife has no legitimate financial need for alimony at this time. Sidebar. I read a comment from one of you guys that made a lot of sense. Someone said, I'm afraid that Brian may be on the hook for the unpaid alimony because they were reading the minute order and it said that either party could not modify the alimony order. They couldn't modify the order without the court's consent. So essentially making a side deal. Hey, you got locked up, you killed George. Okay, I'll give you some money every month and I'll pay for your storage fees and we'll call it even. I don't think that would be a legal binding contract. I even heard the judge in the court and say, Miss Boone, I can't enforce any verbal contracts if it's not in emotion. So I don't know, but my lawyer people, let us know in the comments. Let's take it from the top. 15. Here, the former wife has no legitimate financial need for alimony at this time. Her incarceration means that the state of Florida, at taxpayers' expense, is providing all her essential needs, including housing, food, clothing, and medical care. She pays no rent, no utilities, no grocery bills, no insurance. The primary living expenses that alimony is designed to cover have been entirely assumed by the prison system. Any minimal personal expenses she might have, such as commissary items or phone minutes, are negligible and certainly not expenses the former husband should be ordered to finance. I'd like unlimited credits monthly to speak on the phone and utilize the many features that are available for communication. They have video calls, cards, messages, emojis. 16. In short, the entire premise underlying the original alimony award to assist the former wife's post-marital living expenses and transition to self-sufficiency has been appended. Given her life sentence, she will never re-enter society or incur the normal living costs that the alimony was intended to defray. Sidebar: Sarah's used to living pretty free, not paying any bills or anything, and the phone messages that I discovered, she even wrote a note to Brian, to herself, make a note for bills for Brian to pay. Like, she put Brian in her monthly finances to pay everything, and that was outside of the alimony payments. Allegedly, the night of the fatal incident, Sarah was in the negative and called Brian and asked for some money, and he was nice enough to give it to her, and she went to Publix and got a third or fourth handle. Leave in the comments if you remember, but the rest is history. 17. Put simply, the former wife's incarceration has extinguished any reasonable claim of need for alimony, and it would be inequitable in the extreme to force Mr. Boone to keep paying. That's very true. I don't think that the alimony will continue. I think this is more about the past alimony. But if she's been in prison, then she didn't incur the expenses, right? 18. Moreover, the former wife's incarceration and conviction amount to a substantial change in circumstances that was not contemplated at the time of the divorce. Right. Judge Jackson acknowledged this too. She addressed it in the court, in open court, to Sarah, and she made her agree. Miss Boone, you do agree that this divorce decree was made in 2018 before either party had any idea that they would be involved with something criminally, right? Yes, Your Honor. 19. The former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone does not owe him child support since she was incarcerated in February 2020. Let's read that again. The former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone does not owe him, maybe he meant her, owe her child support since she was incarcerated in former 2020. When did Sarah stipulate that? The former wife stipulated that Mr. Boone does not owe him child support since she was incarcerated in February 2020. I think there's a typo somewhere in there. 20. However, Florida law does not automatically extinguish a parent's duty to support a child due to incarceration. See Wilkerson versus Wilkerson, Sarah, since you want to always bring up case law and citation numbers. A parent's duty to support exists, quote, exists as a result of parenthood and is not erased by a criminal conviction. 21. Brian and Josh are on a roll. In other words, the former wife's incarceration did not terminate her obligations to contribute to the child support. It merely rendered her unable to do so. The unfortunate result is that Mr. Boone and the child have borne the full financial burden with zero assistance from the former wife. For over 5 years, the former wife has paid nothing toward the child's needs. She also failed to exercise any visitation. She's been in violation of the parent plan too, regardless of a criminal conviction. 22. Mr. Boone testified that between February 2020 and April 2022, he provided the former wife with direct monetary support, averaging $600 a month, in addition to paying $240 per month for a mini storage unit on her behalf. He also moved it too. Brian charged her for moving fees as well. 23. During this same period, the former wife had a child support obligation of $367 per month to Mr. Boone, based on his exercise of 100% time sharing, an imputed income of $60,000 annually to him, and minimum wage imputed to her. So, Sarah does owe child support. For everyone who has been wondering and writing in the comment section that Sarah should be responsible for some child support. Yeah, Brian has the child 100%. There we have it right there. 24. Extrapolated from February 2020 through the child's age of majority in October 2028, a span of 104 months, that obligations totals to $38,168 in child support owed by the former wife. Child support she will never satisfy given her life sentence in prison. Yes! Go, Brian. Okay, so she's gonna owe him. I told you I think they may break even. If Judge Jackson honors this, she may owe him money. No more delicious delights or motivation in a cup. Even without giving Mr. Boone any credits and assuming that Mr. Boone owed the former wife the maximum of $26,000 in alimony arrears from February 2020 through the filing of the petition to modify in April 2022. The former wife's child support obligation alone more than offsets any such claim. So, Sarah, it's time to pay up. 26. I shouldn't be this excited that Sarah's going to be in the negative again. 26. The calculation does not even account for the substantial sums Mr. Boone actually paid her directly, the storage expenses he covered for the gas station heirlooms, or the more than $14,000 in attorney's fees that he has incurred in protecting his child's best interest against the former wife's persistent obstruction. Oh, good one. She actually tried to obstruct through the interrogation. She feigned ignorance, like she didn't know what was going on. I don't know what's happening. I don't know why I'm here. Why is this happening? Was it yesterday? Accordingly, any claim by the former wife for arrearages must be denied, as the equities and evidence overwhelmingly establish that Mr. Boone owes her nothing. 27. For all the foregoing reasons, petitioner, former husband, Brian Boone, respectfully requests that this court, A, grant his motion, petition his modification petition, and deny the former wife's outstanding motions. B, award him sole parental responsibility. C, approve his amended parenting plan. D, terminate his alimony obligation and order that neither party owes the other for any arrearages for unpaid support. E, order the immediate release of any clerk-held funds to Mr. Boone. Oh, that's going to make Sarah so upset that if she didn't get $1 and then Brian actually gets the $4,000 that's in the clerk's funds, which he should, but I wonder if the judge will give her any say-so, because she wanted control over how it was spent. F. Deny all relief sought by the former wife, including claims for alimony, sanctions, contempt, or attorney's fees. Then they have the certificate of service. I hereby certify that a copy of the foregoing has been filed via electronic court filing and provided via U.S. mail to pro se respondent Sarah K. Boone on this 28th day of August 2025 at the below address provided by her. And it goes on to give Sarah's address at Lowell Correctional Institution, main unit in Ocala, Florida. By Josh Martell, and it lists all of his information, and Josh did that in 5 pages, and he didn't write margin to margin. So, what'd you think?
I'm just tired of it happening. I mean, it was midnight. I mean, child's trying to sleep, and just honestly, I don't always believe her when she said these things were going on. And
she called you?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I mean, apparently she went back inside and slept well. Was in a fine mood the next day. I guess didn't really remember calling me, so I don't know if it was just
brought up again?
If it was just she wanted to come over to. I don't know. She keeps on trying to come over to like hang out or something like that, or she'll come over to spend time with Lucas rather than actually just having him over here like she's supposed to, but she wants to come over there and play with him. And so,
You would not answer Brian Boone, your ex-husband's phone calls just so that you could let him know that you're busy and you have things going on, correct?
Should I not be incarcerated, which makes no difference and is temporary, former husband would have his license suspended, wages garnished, or be arrested and put in jail where he'd get the idea real quick how it really works, quote unquote, and understand everything I've been trying to explain to everyone for years now. Okay, Your Honor, I'm trying my best. So this is where Sarah switches gears. How many times have you drank in front of our son? Objection, relevance, Brian's attorney says. And Judge Jackson says, okay, you want to know how many times, or has he taken a drink in front of our son? And she says, you want to know if he's taking a drink in front of your son. And she kind of sighs a little and says, I'm going to overrule the objection and allow the question. So Sarah again asks, have you ever had a drink in front of our minor child? And Brian says, yes, I've had a drink in front of our child. Oh, I just rewound and heard this part also. Sarah said the reason she was asking, yes, I'm asking because he blames and ridicules me for drinking and blames that for my incarceration. So I want to know if he's taking a drink in front of our child.
For most of my questions, it's just a simple yes or no.